They take over on down. All they need is one snap, 6 seconds to expire, and the Seattle Seahawks win their first division championship in their history.
And Chuck Knox has been taking a great deal of heat over the past couple of weeks. New owner Ken Behring has said that he wished his team had more spark, more innovation in his
more
offense.
excitement.
And yet, the first time that a championship can be held in the hands of the Seattle Seahawks, it happens in a year where they are 9-7, and a year in which Chuck Knox has taken a great deal of heat.
And they do it today in a very exciting manner. A disappointing day for Mike Shanahan and the Los Angeles Raiders. And that's it. Now the exchange of the shaking of hands and congratulations. The Seattle Seahawks defeat the Los Angeles Raiders.
The Super Bowl began its flight as a major sports event on January 15th, 1967. At the L.A. Coliseum, the Green Bay Packers, under Vince Lombardi, took on the upstart AFL Kansas City Chiefs. Max McGee, who caught only 3 passes all season, responded with 7 catches for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. MVP Bart Starr found McGee for his 2nd touchdown to clinch the Packer victory. Lombardi's legacy survived after his death in 1970 as the championship trophy would bear his name. This is how the Cowboy cheerleaders looked in 1971, and Tom Landry was a little more animated in those days. Why not? Super Bowl V came down to 1 play, 5 seconds left. Rookie Jim O'Brien kicked a 32-yard field goal to win the game for the Baltimore Colts, 16-13. The first Super Bowl played on artificial turf. The first appearance of the LA Rams was against the Steelers and their Iron Curtain defense. Super Bowl 14 was a tightly contested game until Terry Bradshaw's famous 73-yard touchdown pass to John Stallworth put Pittsburgh ahead to stay. The Steelers became the first team to win 4 Super Bowls, and Bradshaw won MVP honors for the 2nd year in a row. ESPN's Joe Theismann would like to forget Super Bowl 18 against the Raiders. The key play coming with 7 seconds left in the first half. Jack Squirick made the interception and waltzed in for the TD, making the score 21-3. Then came the Marcus Allen show. This 74-yard touchdown scamper sealed his MVP award as he rushed for a record 191 yards. The Raiders became the last AFC team to win the Super Bowl. And everyone remembers the Bengals.
That's also where you can find the Angels. Tonight, the Halos look to Terry Clark to fill Chuck Finley's shoes.
It's missing, though, because Brent Fullwood finds the opening, 27 yards on the game. And look at the job on the line. Alan Weingrad and Winston Moss just takes care of him at that point. Makes it easy for Fullwood. Don Mikowski didn't have much luck in the air. Harry Hamilton here to pick off the ball after it's tipped, and that's just easy pickings. Mikowski with 2 interceptions in the first half. The other quarterback, well, Vinny Testaverde. He would show he could run.
And haven't I been saying Vinny's the QB of the 90s? As Vinny comes and shows great vision, cuts back across the field. But I think the great thing about this is Vinny's effort at the end of the play, stretching that long body out, getting the first down.
Vinny says, though, I'm here to throw the ball. Mark Terrier grab onto this one over the middle, 16 yards on the game. But look at the help he gets from Paul Gruber, who holds off Tim Harris and makes it easy. Vinny getting the help and getting the job done, and that makes it easy for Vinny to do this.
Something you would not have seen earlier last year or any other year. Vinny moving up in the pocket, spotting the receiver on the run, throwing for the touchdown.
William Howard, 9 yards on the TD. It was 27 at the half, but the Pack comes back. Mikowski to Perry Kemp, who looks like he's in for a touchdown, but gets nailed, spins, and fumbles the ball. Carl Bland recovers it in the end zone, 23-21. Tampa Bay still up. Green Bay might do it. But Mark Robinson is there for the interception. Keith Woodside finally grabs Robinson and takes out his frustration, tossing him earthward. Vinny with a pretty good day, 22 of 27, 205 yards, and no interceptions. He had 35 interceptions last year. The Bucs' 4th straight win at Green Bay. Pete Axel will have more on the Battle of the Bulls.
Now, the head coach of San Diego, LA leading 21-7. Steve Berline on in relief of Jay Schrader, connecting with a wide-open Willie Gault. Berline came off the bench for 2 scoring strikes and threw for 206 yards. Jim McMahon's debut in a regular season game for the Chargers, not all that great. This is probably his highlight. It set up a Marion Butt score on the Anthony Miller reception, but McMahon was just 7 of 19 for 91 yards. Vance Mueller diving in as the Raiders piled it on. Marcus Allen also scored twice as the Raiders win it 40-14. But Tim Brown...
Chargers that come in. Dan Henning's the new coach, and Jim McMahon's the new quarterback. Leslie O'Neal takes Jay Schrader down early, and Schrader would have to leave the game for x-rays. Comes back as a spectator, but he has a slight separation of the collarbone. Leslie O'Neal continues to play hard. Comes in from the end zone and knocks the ball loose away from Steve Berline, who had come in to replace Schrader. Ken Woodard lays out Tim Brown on the kick return, and Brown would have to leave the game as well. But what the Raiders did do, when Schrader was in the game before the injury, he hits Willie Gault 53 yards on the bomb as Gault is off and running. It's almost underthrown. He still comes back and gets the ball. And then Schrader goes to Vance Mueller. 26 yards. This one will set up for the touchdown, and the Raiders will have the early lead. Lots of time in the pocket. Just zips it across the middle, and Mueller does the rest of the work into the end zone. Chargers offense also used the big play. Rookie running back Marion Butts on a 50-yard burst for the touchdown as he breaks it through the middle. Ties the game at 7-7. And the Raiders, though, would continue to use the big play. Third quarter, Berline to Willie Gault again. 39 yards in this touchdown reception. The Raiders are up 28-7. Steve Berline with a good day off the bench. The new quarterback, Jim McMahon, not as good for the Chargers. Inconsistent. Here he's almost picked off. Then McMahon is sacked, swarmed under by Piquel. McMahon was finally pulled for backup David Archer. Not a good debut for Jim McMahon as his team gets clobbered 40-14 by the L.A. Raiders. Jay Schrader, Tim Brown, both had to leave the game for the Raiders. Jim McMahon, 7 of 18 for 91 yards. Let's get back to the Eagles game, though. The Raiders have owned the Chiefs over the last few years, but more importantly, you had to think about Mike Shanahan coming into this game. He already had one victory over San Diego. A lot of heat on him and the Raiders if he didn't win his first couple of games. So he could go a long way to relieve that pressure if he could get a win in front of 71,000 at Arrowhead. Always rough when the Raiders and the Chiefs meet, as Chris just said. Early on, it was the Raiders. First quarter action. 3rd and 12. Jay Schrader feels the rush and gets it off just the same to Mervyn Fernandez. 25 yards on the touchdown. They missed the extra point, and the Raiders lead it 6-0. Jay Schrader back from the injury last week. Now, how do you beat the Raiders? Well, you just run the ball. Christian Okoye just pounding it up the middle. Christian Okoye one more time. Nothing fancy about this. Just bowling people over. And then James Saxon with a little bit more room, off tackle, takes it out, picks it up for a good game. Now it sets up this. Play action. When the Raiders are looking for the run, they go for the fake. And look at the pass to Chris Dressel. He takes off 49 yards for the touchdown. Kansas City takes a 7-6 lead. And, Tommy, it's that simple. When you run the ball, they're looking for that.
When you run the ball well, play action works. Here's Steve DeBerg, a la Roman Gabriel. I'd like to see more quarterbacks do that. Hide the ball on the hip. Gets the ball to Dressel, and Dressel shows Schottenheimer something he's used to out of tight ends, and that's an ability to run with the football after you catch it.
First touchdown in a long time for Dressel. Late in the second quarter, Steve DeBerg uses the play action again. It hits James Saxon for 18 yards to the 8-yard line. A few plays later, Christian Okoye bursts through 8 yards for the touchdown, and the Chiefs are up at the half 17-16. Christian Okoye with 95 yards on the day. In the second half, how do you stop the Raiders? Defense. First-round draft choice, Derek Thomas with the sack. He had 2.5 on the day. In the fourth quarter, the Raiders clinging to a 19-17 lead. DeBerg going long. Terry McDaniel with a pass interference. And that sets this up. Christian Okoye, 1 yard, just bowls his way in, and the Chiefs win at 24-19. Dressel's touchdown catch was his first since catching one for Houston against Kansas City in 1985. Christian Okoye with the 2 touchdowns.
The NFL, but glory hasn't hit them much, not in the 1980s. Today they tried to recapture some glory at Lambeau Field against the New Orleans Saints, who had never before played at the frozen tundra, except it wasn't frozen yet. Packers trying to pull together a new team. Don Mikowski going from the shotgun, under pressure, passes tipped. Dave Waymer, longtime corner, now free safety. Saints returns it to the Packer 31-yard line, and the Saints are in business, registering a shutout last week, and it looked to be much of the same this week. Ironhead up the middle, behind the Saints' offensive line. They were owning the trenches, and the Saints also went to the air. The short one, Hobie Brenner catches it from Bobby Hebert. 21-0 New Orleans. It's going to be a rout, right? Well, Brent Fullwood scores. He had 70 yards in the first half to get the Packer fans interested. But Bobby Hebert was the one that owned the first half as the Saints led it 24-7. But the new Polish rifle, Don Mikowski, the old Polish rifle is still playing. That's Ron Jaworski. But Don Mikowski would go on to complete not one to Perry Kemp, would go on to complete not two to Ed West. But what's going to be familiar about this, it's going to be completion after completion after completion, setting up a run of 18. I swear, in this run of 18, he must have hit Carroll Dale and Boyd Dowell. He was hitting everybody. Ray Fontenot caught it. Where's Marv Fleming? I mean, he hit everyone time after time. There's Sterling Sharp, #1 pick a few years ago. Mikowski on play action to Keith Woodside, which sets up another Brent Fullwood touchdown run. The Packers within 10, 24-14. Mikowski's not through. Again, a completion to Sterling Sharp. Mikowski to Perry Kemp. Again, 9 in a row. He's only halfway there. And Kemp isn't going to be tackled easily either. Mikowski to Sterling Sharp. 10 in a row. The Pack coming back. Inside for Sharp. And then the big tight end, Ed West, gets into the act again. Makes a catch. Touchdown, 24-21 Saints. Lead down to 3. Mikowski still scorching hot. Sterling Sharp over the middle. Mikowski to Sharp again. Remember this combination. You're going to hear about it all year long. Now back to Big Ed West. Does some nice bit of running for the first down. Mikowski liked that, so he rewarded West with another pass. Can it be 17 in a row? Yes, it was. Ed West rubbed it into the end zone. 31-28. Saints still lead by 3. 17 straight completions. 18 in a row to Jeff Query. Tying the Packer marks up by Lynn Dickey. For number 19, no, finally incomplete. What more do you want the guy to do? Oh, you want him to win the game. All right, 4th and 17. Is Jeff Query in or out? They looked at the replay for a long time. Replay showed 1. Yeah. They said yes on 4th and 17. They give him the reception, the clutch first down. The Packers still going. Of course, Mikowski's going to pass to Sterling Sharp. 35-34 Pack. A comeback of major proportions. 1 point better than the Eagles. Mikowski, 18 straight, 354 yards on the day. But the Saints had one last chance. Hebert. Picked off by Van Chase, former New Orleans Saint. Hebert, nice numbers, but in the end, didn't put up enough points. The Pack, 24. Yeah, Willie Wood wore that number. He's a Hall of Famer. The Packers, Lindy and Foddy, all smiles for good reason, as the Packers spot New Orleans a 21-0 lead and come back to beat them at Lambeau Field, 35-34. Where does Mikowski stand on the all-time NFL list for successive completions? Joe Montana has the record over a couple of games in 87 of 22. Kenny Anderson had the most in one game of 20. Mikowski third overall, second most in one game, 18 in a row. Fantastic. A guy who was always fantastic in Georgia against his old boss, Dan Reeves, beat him the first time in Week 3 on a Monday night at Mile High Stadium with a great comeback after the Raiders were down 24-0 at half. It looked like deja vu for a while. Marvelous day for football in the Mile High city of Denver. Tommy was watching this one anxiously. Mike Shanahan thinking about going 3-0 against Dan Reeves. But not when Jay Schrader fumbles the snap and Rick Dennison recovers early for Denver. First possession for the Raiders, a turnover. That recovery sets up John Elway. You want to talk about a guy who can move. But watch him turn on the Jets about the 15 or the 10-yard line. Let's get him go and then take a licking, but keep on ticking in the end zone. 7-0 Broncos. The crowd senses a big win. The Raiders' next possession. Schrader, shotgun, can't handle it. Shanahan unhappy. That sets up a Jeff Alexander 1-yard blast. 14-0 Denver. Al says, got to adjust the shades. Raiders then had to punt. Elway, without Ricky Nattiel, on IR for 6 weeks, to Mark Jackson. Beautiful pass, touchdown, 21-0 at the end of 1 quarter of play. 2 possessions later for the Raiders. Simon Fletcher comes through, nails Schrader. Boo! Greg Cragen recovers. Al, yeah, we've seen this before. Jay Schrader threw for a lot of yards, but didn't handle the ball very well. That fumble set up this Elway scramble. And then, just before he goes over the line of scrimmage, the bullet to Mark Jackson. The touchdown, 28-0 at the half. How's Al taking all this meanwhile? Yeah, this is great. Fourth quarter, the Raiders have trimmed it to 28-21 as Elway's numbers don't reflect the type of lead the Broncos had. But looking for the tying touchdown, Schrader picked off by the rookie Steve Atwater, who impressed so much against Buffalo on Monday night. That killed off the hopes. Yeah, literally. The Broncos slapped the Raiders around. The final score at Mile High Stadium, 31-21. We had some wild games.
Of the 80s, Don Mikowski, 18 straight completions last week, ready to lead the pack. Here he gets it going early, running 8 yards. He scrambles himself before taking it down to the earth. And then Tony Mandarich makes his first appearance, and he made an impact right away, Tom.
Well, here we like to call him the Michelin Man. He ties up 2 guys and springs Brent Fullwood for a 12-yard gain. He looks to be everything that's been advertised.
But forget all about that. This is an offense. Jim Everett looking for Willie Anderson. Right on the money, and Anderson takes it to the 2-inch line, and soon it was 10-0, the Rams with the lead. They're not done. Henry Allard, watch him stop on a dime, and Van Jakes is fooled about as badly as you can be fooled. He's still tearing it upfield by the time the ball is there. And again to Anderson. This one takes it down to the 9-yard line. Van Jakes again was the one who gets burned on this one. Soon after, it's 17-7. Running game, take a like Greg Bell. Open field, he breaks it through a big hole, and then he does the rest of the work. 45 yards for a touchdown, and the Rams have a 31-7 lead. Greg Bell with 222 yards, that a career best and 2 touchdowns. The Pack came back last week from a 21-0 deficit. Could they do it again this week? Remember the offense we told you to forget? Well, remember them now. Mikowski goes to Sharp. He has a good run, 38-14. On the next drive, Brent Fullwood will grab it in, take it in for 10 yards on the left side. And it's a 38-21 lead. The Rams still on top. Next drive, first play. Mikowski from his own 20. Way over the top, and Sterling Sharp is underneath it, 60 yards on the reception before he's hauled down. Remember the Rams defense in the first half? Jerry Gray sticks Kerry Kemp. Well, in the second half, things would be a lot different for the Rams defense, Tom.
Here, Ed West left all alone in the end zone. Touchdown, 38-28 Rams.
Forget Everett in the first half. Remember him now. Interception to Brian Noble. No Rams anywhere near to be found. Tough out for Everett. Watch here. He's looking for the official. Number 115 intercepted just above. Spectacular comeback ended when Fullwood would fumble on the Rams' 1-yard line, and the Rams go on to win it 41-38. I told you, Bell with 222 yards on 22 carries and 2 touchdowns. The Rams pull off the victory, but Chris, the Green Bay Packers, if they ever started the game from the beginning, they might roll on some of these.
Well, I think this week the Lindy and Bonnie speech is going to be some about, I think it's 60 minutes, not 30, but the Pack at least partially back. But the Rams are 3-0, heading toward a meeting with the Niners next week at Candlestick. When we will start, and does he have a rookie receiver, or does Atlanta? Sean Collins takes the hits, keeps on going. On 3rd and 19, Millen to Collins. The kid does the right things.
Well, the most impressive thing is how he runs into the middle of the football field, and he's just fearless.
Those receptions, you saw Millen's number set up a settle run. It's 14-3 early Atlanta. Don Mikowski began cold, as the Packers have really throughout this season. Mikowski scrambling, picked off by Scott Case, who had such a big year last year playing center field. Lindy and Fonte not happy. Second half, the Pack driving. Mikowski throws an ill-advised duck that Evan Cooper gathers in. So Mikowski and Lindy said, well, I guess we're coming out of a hole once again. Yeah, you guessed it. That's the way we do it here in Green Bay. Millen was working. Looks for Sean Collins. This one will go 47 yards all the way down to the Packer 13. 5 catches, 126 yards for the rookie Sean Collins. 2 plays later, Gene Lang, the former Bronco Gene Lang, with a touchdown. 21-6 Atlanta heading into the fourth quarter. Mikowski to Jeff Query. He is nailed by Charles Dimmery, but when you're hot, you're hot. Sterling Sharp picks it up at the 5, and it goes as a playbook touchdown. 21-13 Atlanta. Mikowski again to the former Brown, Herman Fontenot. Get open, Herman. I can wing it. For a touchdown. 21-20. And then, leading by 1, Dion gets the kickoff. The leap, and at about the 40, Tommy, He's history.
You know, he has an exceptional move, but the thing is, like you said, the 40-yard line, he knows he's gone.
But there's a flag on the play. So Atlanta would have regained an 8-point lead. Instead, they have to receive the kick again. The Packers hold. The Packers get the ball back after the punt. Mikowski, Perry Kemp, first down despite the nail by Jim Gordon, number 41. Mikowski, almost 3 straight weeks, 300 yards. 1:42 to go. Chris Jackie, his third field goal of the day. It's good. The rookie from UTEP connects from 23 yards. The Pack lead at 23-21. The Falcons, with over a minute to go, with one last chance. But the oldest quarterback in the league, Dave Brown, with the interception. His 57th career INT. Tied for 7th on the list. The Green Bay Packers have done it again. The Cardiac Kids, they're probably the most enjoyable team to watch this year, arguably, as they win it by a count of 23-21. 2 weeks ago, the Pack down by 21, they win. Last week, they're down, by 31, they almost win. This week, they're down by 15, and they win. The Green Bay Packers, something to shout about. And the Falcons showed a lot today, too. These teams are coming. Pack early in the game, Pack late in the game. 2 different teams. We'll be back. Lambeau Field since the Ice Bowl in '67. Footing a little better this time, and on the opening kickoff, Jane Dixon. He could go all the way, but look at Jeff Query. Does this rookie have wheels? Yes, he does. He stops the touchdown return, but eventually Steve Walsh to Michael Irvin. Dallas led it 6-0. They missed the extra point. Next kickoff after a field goal. Darryl Clack, and he returned it. No, fumble! And that omnipresent number 85, the rookie Query, recovers for the Packers. 2 plays later on 3rd and 2. Don Mikowski, the new Polish rifle, to Herman Fontenot, 7 yards, Pack 10, Cowboys 6. Later in the second quarter, Mikowski has problems with the snap. Eugene Lockhart recovers, and after 2 tall swats around this, Lockhart makes the move, and he could go all the way. He does. And Dallas leads. Don't the Packers always trail in the first half? It's 13-10 Dallas. Late second quarter, Mikowski to Sterling Sharp. And look at him make the move on Ray Horton. And Ray tries to get back and make the tackle, but take this arm right in the face. Sterling was Sharp for the touchdown. 17-13 Packers at the half. Sharp with 6 catches on the day. Third quarter, Mikowski for the second time this afternoon with Herman Fontenot for the touchdown. The Pack lead 24-13. Now in the fourth quarter on 3rd and goal, Mikowski to Perry Kemp. Makes the turn and the touchdown. Mikowski, 4 touchdown passes. His third 300-yard day of the 5-game season. 31-13, the Packers win it. Will Herschel be a Cowboy? Well, that was Jimmy Johnson, and they doused Lindy with Gatorade after the game. Jimmy Johnson has now lost more games in 5 weeks as a pro coach than he lost the last 4 years, his time in 3 years. But they had an extra ingredient, a guy by the name of Herschel Walker. You've heard of him, guy that wears number 34. Now, the Vikings said before the game that they were going to play Herschel sparingly. You hate to see what happens if they ever play him the full game. Herschel Walker, Minnesota Vikings, going up against Don Mikowski and the top-ranked offense in the National Football League. And early on, Mikowski reads the safety blitz, hits Sterling Sharp, beats Reggie Rutland, it'll go for 57 yards. And that will set up the play-action toss to Herman Fontenot, touchdown, Pack in front, 7-0. So, Herschel's going to return kicks for the first time touching the ball as a Viking. You watch what happens. About 6 yards deep, elects to come out. Gets past the wall, and he could go all the way. He doesn't go all the way, return to 52 yards, but it was called back for an illegal block. So is Herschel disgruntled? No. He says, just give me the ball. On a sprint draw play, which is one of his favorites. And just like any guy who is on a comfortable carpet, you take off your shoes, which Herschel does right there. Only Tim Harris saves a touchdown. The run went 47 yards, vintage Herschel, Tommy.
Well, sprint draw series, you have to be able to spot the hole. That's the first thing Herschel does. He breaks it a little bit outside, cuts back to the middle of the football field, and he starts flagging these guys off like flies. Would have gone all the way had he not lost that shoe.
Well, you don't shoeless Herschel Walker, right? Well, the Vikings offense, now that you got Herschel, you can play action to him and freeze the defense. Tommy Kramer to Hassan Jones. 19-yard pickup, and so all of a sudden a weapon, whether you use them or whether you don't.
Well, when you use him as a decoy here, Kramer sticks the hand in, pulls it out. Kramer puts the ball out to Hassan Jones. But still, the thing I noticed, Kramer lacking a little zip on the ball all day.
Yeah, doesn't have the mustard on the football anymore, but he has Herschel. And when Herschel wasn't spectacular, he was steady. Look at him fight for the extra yards. And Herschel's showing determination. You don't think he can still bowl over tacklers? Look at him go off tackle as he yearns forward for more yardage. And then the Vikings can cross you up. Instead of Herschel, it's Rick Benny who scores a touchdown. 10-7 Minnesota second quarter before the first half ends. Tommy Kramer lofts one to Jim Gustafson. 17-7 Minnesota at the half. Meanwhile, the top-ranked offense was being stymied by the Minnesota defense, namely Keith Millard, number 75, had 4 sacks alone of Mikowski. The Vikings 8 sacks in all on the day. Minnesota defense just kept coming. Ray Berry, not the coach, but the linebacker, gets the safety, and the Vikings at this point lead at 26-7. Don Mikowski was not the magic man today, only 9 of 24. And with a big lead, I think everybody in the ballpark enjoyed watching Herschel Walker. Certainly Tommy Kramer enjoyed it. Here he goes off right tackle, picking up a mere 22 yards. Herschel Walker, what a debut he had today. 148 yards. This is the run that got him over 100. And in the stands, the last Viking to get 150 yards. Chuck Foreman back in the late 70s. Herschel Walker and the Minnesota Vikings. Big day as they're back at first, as they beat the Packers 26-14. And afterward, Herschel says, doesn't matter where I am, I just want the football.
Starting for a different team, and Art Shell, who would know something about that, was hoping that he'd have the same result. Art Shell looking for his second win as the Raider head coach, and he'd get a little bit of a boost because Bo Jackson was out of a Kansas City Royals uniform and into one of the Los Angeles Raiders. Shell getting his ring for the Hall of Fame, and Bo Jackson ready for his. Bo a little bit sluggish in the first half as he kicks off the season. Gets hit hard by Dino Hackett on the Schrader incomplete pass. On the ground, Bo gets tackled by a host of Chiefs. It loses 2 yards on the play. Second quarter, 7-3 Chiefs. A shaky call. Interference call. J.C. Pearson trying to play a little defense on Mervin Fernandez. A couple of plays later, Bo does it better. Bowls his way in from 2 yards out. The Raiders up 10-7 at halftime. Al Davis likes what he sees at this point. Second half, Bo starts to get it going. Rambles 11 yards on this play. Then Bo once again, 18 yards, sets up the Jeff Jager 50-yard field goal, 13-7. Tommy, in the second half, Bo found his wheel.
Well, as Bo starts to feel those wheels, it only gets better. And even though he's in silver and black, I like it. Here he rambles for 39 yards, sets up a Van Mueller touchdown run.
Mueller here takes it, cuts it back, and then bowls his way in. 27 LA in the fourth. And Bo Jackson, Bo knows football at this time of year, 85 yards. And Art Shell's Raiders, the commitment to defense here. Alfredo Roberts is hit hard by Jerry Robinson. Diverge pass broken up by Mike Harden here. And then Mr. Raider, Howie Long, gets in on the act. Long finds room on the outside to get Steve DeBerg. And the Raiders win the game. Bo Jackson only 10 yards in the first half, 85 overall. Raiders have won 10 of their last 14 against the Chiefs. And Art Shell, perfect 2-0 as coach of the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Seahawks,
They made Art Shell the head coach. Been undefeated. They were 2-0 under Art Shell going in. And one thing Art Shell said he's going to have is club playing like Raider football. And he had the defense fired up. Watch Greg Townsend put a licking on Keith Byers. And Randall Cunningham couldn't escape. Mike, get wise, man. Get wise with the sack. Now for Reggie White, of course, the Minnesota defense was in the game, Tommy.
Well, Chris, he's double-teamed and triple-teamed every week. Today he was held more than he's used to off that double-team and triple-team. Here Bruce Wilkerson mugs him, doesn't let him go. Reggie still manages to put pressure on Schrader.
He certainly does. Now, it was also an interesting game for Isel Jenkins. Watch this eye-to-eye connection he makes with this errant pass. And while covering swerving Mervin Fernandez, Andre Waters try to take turns for the interception, and it's a wow. No. What about Bo Jackson? Well, Bo knows pileups. Here he gets smothered by the Eagle defense. Bo ineffective in the first half. Now, Jay Schrader was supposed to be the answer. The question here is, who is he trying to throw this ball to? Jay, give us a break. Kicker Jeff Jager, 24-yard chip shot, off to the right. for the second time in Art Shell's 3 games as coach. Scoreless at the half. Second half physical. Tom Benson nails Mark Higgs. Fumble! Game is still scoreless. Jay Schrader tries to light a fire, but instead he just puts gasoline on it.
Much more effective as a pocket passer than rolling out of that pocket. His ball tends to take off as it does here, and Isaiah Jenkins makes the interception.
Down to the 24-yard line, you see Schrader's numbers, and so he was benched. After the play, Randall, who had a very poor day as well, eventually would score from 1 yard out of the Eagles in the third, led it 7-0. Al Davis not happy as he watches his defensive effort go to waste. They held Randall to only 64 yards passing, but his club was down 7-0. Meanwhile, Steve Berline came in and replacing Schrader. Now, Notre Dame won yesterday, but this Notre Dame alum, no. It's Byron Evans right in the numbers. Eagles back in business. Berline was 5 of 8 and was better than Schrader today. Luis Indejas missed a field goal in the first half and would miss one in the second half until...
Number 25, lined up in the neutral zone, 5 yards, repeat, 4th down.
So thanks to Dan Land, Zendejas gets a 36-yard shot, which he hooks also, but it goes in there, and the Eagles carry a 10-0 lead into the fourth. Berline, though, tries to get the Raiders into it, looking for Willie Gault, and he finds him from 24 yards out, 10-7, Philadelphia leads. And then Bo came alive. Bo would become the leading rusher of all baseball players ever in the National Football League. You follow that? He had 79 yards today, blowing over Wes Hopkins on that play. But Berline is sacked on 3rd down, and that means Jeff Jaeger tried to tie the game from 41 yards out, and the kick is, please, not even close. A sloppy game all the way around. Al Davis, his team was gone today. They played a nice defensive game. But the Philadelphia Eagles beat them by the count of 10-7. Raider quarterbacks the last 2 weeks, 18 of 51 for 269 yards and 4 interceptions. So not the way they want their quarterbacks to play. Front seven from both squads, Tommy, looked impressive today.
Excellent job by both defenses. The problem was most of that blocking by the Raider offensive line had some holding to do with it most of the time. And although the referees don't call it all the time, they called it every time the Raiders got close to the goal line, stopped them from getting that score in. They've got to learn to block and keep their hands in.
So the Eagles get a win. That they certainly have played better in other games this year, but they will take a win, although the wind is out of the sails of their offense, and more precisely Randall Cunningham. First 4 games this year for Randall versus the last 3 games. And you can see the game would be the day's most fun because both teams ranked in the top 4 of all offenses for passing. So at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, how much fun would we have as the two teams got together? Well, one guy having fun these days for Miami, John Offerdahl, back at camp on Monday, saw limited action. Jim Jensen, well, crash nose receiving. Crash nose running. Crash nose pass blocking. Crash can cover kicks right there. He can do it all. And Crash also knows touchdown passes in the first quarter with Miami on the move. Dan Marino, Jim Jensen, 7-yard touchdown. Fish, 7. Pack, zip. And Jensen knows what to do when he gets the football. Tom.
Very reminiscent of one Steve Largent. Not very speedy, but a very crafty receiver. A guy who knows how to get open, obviously knows the way to the end zone.
With the score 7-3 in the first, Marino is picked off by Ron Pitts. His father was Elijah Pitts. And only Marino could save a touchdown, a 33-yard return. Second quarter, Marino struggling past Farrell Edmonds off his hands. Mark Murphy, he without the hair, interception. And Marino was struggling on this day, but even worse than Dan was the magic man. Don Mikowski, who's been so brilliant at times this year, throws the ball out of bounds, intended for Perry Kemp. And then on a rollout, looking for Sterling Sharp. No. Lindy Infante's offense, which has been so powerful, especially in second halves, having trouble. 10-6 Miami at the half. Shula and Marino get it together on a 3rd and 6 play. Marino to Mark Clayton. Beats Van Jakes for the touchdown. 17-6 Miami. And Marino is so good at this.
One of the many things that makes him so effective. Here he looks the defense off, comes back to his second, third receiver, spots him right away.
But Miami left the door open. Mikowski looks downfield. Lewis Oliver could have sealed the victory there, but he drops the ball. And with the score 20-6, Mikowski, and here's the pack in the fourth quarter. How often have you seen it? Sterling Sharp, touchdown, 20-13, and Mikowski has the good feet.
Mikowski has good feet. He's a great scrambler, proving that he can be a great scrambler. Today, though, we noticed in the pocket, his feet were a little bit nervous at times.
Miami trying to seal it, and watch this unfortunate play. Troy Stratford making a cut. The knee just buckles up on him. He fumbles the football. Johnny Holland recovers it. There's the right knee there. We won't know till tomorrow how serious that is, but you can understand the fumble in that situation. But it opened the door for the Packers. 58 seconds to go. Mikowski to Sterling Sharp. Touchdown! 20-20. The Pack has come from behind again. But too much time. You give Dan Marino. Anything over 2 seconds is too much time. 20 yards to Freddie Banks. 20 yards to Mark Clayton. Then Marino to Clayton for 14 more yards. Dan throwing for 333 yards on the day. Shula had a chance to go maybe for one more play, but with 10 seconds to go, maybe allowed for a bot-snapping shin on, beat Stoyanovich, who from 33 yards, boy, everything hooked today, but that was good. 6 seconds to go, the field had the holder, Scott Seekules succeeded Mikowski as quarterback at Virginia. So Seekules was a winner over his old, the guy who started ahead of him in college, what I'm trying to say today. Miami 23, Green Bay 20. Go to start the season. Jay Schrader becomes a Raider. And so today the Redskins went out to see if Jay would play. But no, Art Shell opted for Steve Berline instead. Schrader benched as he wished his replacement, Steve Berline, good luck. The Shell game was to have Berline in there to try and spark the offense, which had gone 2 of 3 of Shell's first games, scoreless in the first half. And Berline early to Swervin Mervin Fernandez, 18 yards. And again, Berline to the Swervin one. Touchdown, 14-0 early against Joe Gibbs. But back come the Skins. And it didn't even result in the offense making the move. The kickoff to Joe Howard at the 1. He makes his move, and he could go all the way. 99 yards. Longest in Skins history. First kickoff return for a touchdown since 78. It's 14-7. From there, though, Howie Long and the defense took over. They had 7 sacks on the afternoon and many tackles behind the line of scrimmage like this one on Jamie Morris. Then, Long sacks Mark Rippon. The only way Rippon could do it was under pressure. The ball tipped at the line by Mike Wise, but Donnie Warren comes up with the deflection. Next play, the Skins looking for the tie. Ernest Biner making moves down to the 13, but fumble! L.A. picks up the football as the Redskins continue to turn the ball over. This time, Jerry Robinson with the pick. Now watch the hit by Jim Lachey. Robinson dazed, but the Skins with 8 turnovers on the day. One guy who was never dazed, Bo knows touchdowns. Bo Jackson. First 100-yard day in 2 years. 73-yard run. Nobody's going to catch him. 144 yards for Bo. Raiders lead it 24-10. Yeah, we know. Bo knows football. It got worse for Rippon and company. Only one time in Redskins history before today had they suffered 8 turnovers. It was in the 1940 NFL Championship game against the Bears. Bears beat them that day 73-0. That was an Eddie Anderson interception. Eddie Anderson again with an interception. And this time, he'll rumble, stumble, 45 yards into the end zone. 37-10. The Raiders in a romp. The Skins score a couple of late touchdowns, but it doesn't matter. 37-24. The silver and black is only 2 back. Lions and the Packers at Milwaukee, and the Pete's son Rodney, father Willie, meet before the game.
We're going to meet at home plate, guy. We're going to meet at home plate. How you doing? Good.
Willie Pete, assistant coach under Lindy Infante. Rodney Pete, quarterback of the Lions today. What a nice affair for father and son. And Rodney made Dad's job a little more difficult when he found Richard Johnson down the sidelines for 39 yards. Then Richard Johnson for a touchdown of 6 yards, 7-0 Detroit. But the real star today, Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders, 123 yards in the first half. He breaks tackles. He makes nice cuts like a little fire hydrant. Getting down the field.
Well, every fire hydrant I've ever seen has made nice cuts, and Sanders goes 7 yards into the end zone, but illegal block by Keith McDonald And Wayne Fonts really enjoyed this call. Fonts, remember he got his job because he beat the Packers twice last year? Sends in Eddie Murray, who even after 19 straight field goals finally proves he's human, hits the upright, bounds away. We are 10-10 at the half, but the penalty was really a 14-point swing. Don Mikowski, his usual brilliant self. Here he hits Sterling Sharp, 14 yards. And then the Mikowski to Sharp connection again. 27 yards, down to the Detroit 5. And then the same two, Magic Man to Sharp, 5 yards, 20-10 Pack after 3. Mikowski, 367 yards as the Pack continues to come back. But this one went off Sharp's helmet and into the hands of Jerry Holmes. And with the score 20-13, the Lions were in business. A penalty put them back, but Rodney knows what to do when everyone's covered, Tom.
And he doesn't only run when he's in trouble. When he sees an opening, he goes for it, and he knows he can reach it and dives into the end zone for the touchdown.
We are tied at 20. Minute 37 to go. Look at Barry Sanders run 30 yards before he's finally brought down to the Packer 40. He finishes with 184 yards on 30 carries. But the Lions wouldn't score because they fumble, and Tim Harris recovers for Green Bay. We go to overtime. First play from scrimmage in overtime after the kickoff is handled by Detroit. Intercepted by Mark Murphy on the pass intended for former Packer Walter Stanley. 4 plays later, Chris Jackie jacks a 39-yard field goal. His third of the game, it's good. And the Pack, they don't do it in the fourth quarter. They do it in overtime this time. Green Bay winning late again, winning over Detroit in Milwaukee by the count of 23-20. 100-yard rushers, you know Barry Sanders was one. 300-yard passers, you know Mikowski was one. Let's total them all up when we return. Late highlights, including the Gotham Breed, the Jets.
Perhaps the most dangerous runner in the game, and the key to the Raiders' resurgence under new head coach Art Shell.
The handoff now to Bo, and Bo slashes down the middle. He's at the 2, the 1, carries a man over. Touchdown, Raiders. What a dynamic, explosive drive by Bo Jackson for the final 7 yards. Quick pitch to Bo, trying to sweep the left side. Turns it up to the 10, 15, up the left side to 20. He's at the 30. Maybe nobody will get it. 50, 40. He's got a blocker. He's going to the 20, the 10. Touchdown, Raiders! Bo Jackson, 92 yards. Holy Toledo. Boy, does Cincinnati have something to think about now.
Jackson's 159 yards made things easy for Shell, but the new coach is a longtime Raider, and he is bringing some vintage Raiders football to his team. And vintage Raider football means the long ball.
Play fake pitch by Schrader, and he's airing it out, going deep to Willie Gault, and Gault makes a diving catch on the 20-yard line. Holy Toledo! Gault to the left, brought Alexander and Fernandez into the right, and a long heave up the field, and Gault makes the catch beyond the 50, heads across the field to the 40, all the way to the right to the 30. A man slips and falls, 20, 10, touchdown Raiders! The big strike again!
On defense, L.A. also played some old-time Raider rough and tumble. The restoration of the old Raider attitude and enthusiasm had Los Angeles making the big play on offense and defense in Sunday's 28-7 upset victory over the Bengals. The win put the Raiders' record at 4-1 under Art Shell and vaulted them into contention in the AFC West. And if the longtime member of the Raider family continues to revive the silver and black tradition, post-game congratulations from his sons might become a weekly tradition.
Are you like me after watching the Raiders the last 5 weeks? They really believe that they are back. That wasn't the case the early part of the season. After 4 ball games under head coach Mike Shanahan, they were 1-3. And then the head man, Al Davis, made a change and named Art Shell Former Raider, now Pro Football Hall of Famer as the head coach, and he does it the Raider way. That's with great defense, throwing the ball deep and getting the ball to that man, Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson is averaging 7.4 yards per carry since he has returned. Looking at the standings, 5-4. The Raiders very much in contention and should be in a great position for a playoff spot. Another reason why the Raiders are back is that they have a great defensive lineman by the name of Howie Long. He was hurt earlier, but he is back now in full force, and he's kind enough to join us on NFL Cross-Talk with Nick. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Lenny. Howie, thanks for being on the show. This week you beat the Cincinnati Bengals every which way possible. You look like the Raiders of the old. Has Art Shell made that much of a difference as the head coach?
Nick, I think Art epitomizes what the Raiders are all about. Art has been on this team in every capacity for a number of years. He's won Super Bowls as a player, been on the coaching staff, winning a Super Bowl, and now as the head coach. And I think his philosophy of Raider football has been contagious with the team, and the team is responding in a very positive way.
Hi, what do they mean by the Raider family? I mean, I've heard Jim Otto talk about the Raider family being close to it. What are they referring to?
Loyalty is a big part of this organization. I'll give you a quick example. Bobby Beathard, who's with NBC now, 5 weeks ago, I'm washed up. 2 years ago, we draft Bo Jackson. He says it's a big mistake. Al Davis comes up to me 5 weeks ago and says, we're going to give you an opportunity to get well, and we'll see if you're washed up. That's the type of loyalty that I think in turn, the players are loyal to him. He's loyal to the players. You know when the time comes, Al will be there for you, and he expects the players to be there for him.
Bo Jackson. I mean, to talk about the Raiders without talking about Bo Jackson, such an impact player. What did he actually do with that offense when I know he's playing great football, but did he actually pick up the entire team?
Anytime you have a player of that physical capability who can just literally single-handedly beat you on defense, you know, the combination of Willie Gault and a Bo Jackson, Willie stretching the defensive secondary, and Bo Jackson. Matter of fact, the first play from scrimmage was a fake flip 19 to Bo. I think 99% of the defense bid on the flip, and we throw deep to Willie. That's the type of impact Bo Jackson has on the defense.
Howie, you have Bo Jackson. Of course, you have Marcus Allen, who is now hurt. Marcus says that he doesn't think there's room for both he and Bo Jackson. What do you think that's going to do to the team?
I really try not to get involved in that situation. I have the utmost respect for Marcus, and I have the utmost respect for Bo. The situation is one that we don't have to face right now, but we will have to face in the near future as a team.
Now, is it me, or does Steve Berline seem to fit better into the Raider offense than Jay Schroeder? Seems when Berline plays, the offense puts a lot of points on the board.
Well, I think Steve has a real love for football. I think his enthusiasm seems to be contagious in the offense. I'm not in the huddle, so I really don't know what goes on, but I get the impression that he does seem to fire some people up around him. He's threatening defensive linemen. He's doing those kind of things that normally...
battles. And Sunday for Chicago's newest starting quarterback, Jim Harbaugh, a field he would grow quite accustomed to. Harbaugh had his troubles Sunday as sharpshooting number 97 Tim Harris set his sights for a pair of sacks. Like the classic games of the distant past, this one turned into a defensive struggle. But unlike the games of the recent past, the Pack had a chance to win it. Trailing by 6 in the fourth quarter, Don Mikowski twice had the ball deep in Bear territory, and twice he had Ron Rivera take it away. But the third time was a charm for the Magic Man. Or was it?
4th and goal from the 14th. Mikowski with the snap, back with some time, looking, now stepping up, on the run. He's going to have to throw in the end zone. Throw it on, and touchdown! Sterling Sharp! He caught it, and he threw it in between two, and what a throw by Mikowski with 32 seconds to go in the game.
Field officials ruled Mikowski had crossed the line of scrimmage, but replay officials saw it differently.
After further review, we have a reversal.
The Pack's first win over the Bears since '84. Maybe they deserve to celebrate twice.
That some of the rules are just too complicated. That rule, for example, states that if the ball crosses the line of scrimmage before the quarterback releases it, it's an illegal forward pass regardless of where his feet are.
Lenny, I don't know
Passing
why.
offense, the Packers and Don Mikowski are drawing lots of attention. And last Sunday in the Silverdome, Mikowski's passes drew plenty of attention from the Lions. Four early turnovers had the Packers down 24-3 in the first half. But Green Bay has already had 4 come from behind wins this season, and their weekly second half charge was inevitable. Tim Harris's 3 sacks led a Green Bay defense that held Detroit to only 8 first downs and 128 total yards, the lowest totals in the league last week. Still, the Lions managed to dodge Green Bay's comeback and handed the Packers a 31-22 loss. The kind of loss that hurts now, but will really sting if it costs the Pack a possible playoff berth. While the Packers had to absorb the pain of the loss to the last-place Lions, the Raiders were feeling a lot better, having vacated the AFC West basement, and were preparing to keep pace with Denver under the watchful eyes of head coach Art Shell. Unfortunately, there was not much to see as the Raiders moved the ball, but were forced to settle for 4 field goals and a 12-0 third-quarter lead. Then the Chargers started opening some eyes with their special teams.
Jeff Jager kicks off for the Raiders. It's high and short. Anthony Miller at the 10, ahead to the 15, to the 20, accelerates to the 25.
Anthony Miller's 91-yard return got the Chargers on the board, and in the fourth quarter, Chargers specialists performed an encore.
Scrimmage, they got a block coming. Hit it, hit! It's hit at the 20-yard line.
Ken Woodard's partial block got the Chargers close for Tim Spencer's go-ahead touchdown.
McMahon gives it. Spencer off the hole, right side, bounces to the goal line. Touchdown, San Diego!
The 14-12 upset loss was doubly painful for the Raiders as it cast a shadow over the silver and black. Doubtful if Don Mikowski would start for Green Bay Sunday after suffering a hyperextended knee the previous week in Detroit. But come game time, the Packer quarterback fooled everybody, including San Francisco safety Ronnie Lott.
Here's the handoff to Fullwood. Now it's kept by Mikowski. Look at him walk in.
Mikowski certainly appeared 100%, as did his receivers.
Here's Mikowski. Looking, guy breaking down on him over the middle. Caught by Sharp.
In a battle between the NFL's 2 top-rated offenses, Green Bay took a 14-7 lead. But Joe Montana was out to prove why his offense is number 1. San Francisco tied the score at 14, but 4 turnovers and 10 penalties eventually caught up with the world champions, and there was no way they could catch football's fastest rising star.
Mikowski with some pressure on a quarterback draw, and he's got a first down and a touchdown.
I knew they were going to run that play, Jim. I just knew it. What a play by Mikowski.
The 6-5 Packers are now just a game out of first place in the NFC Central. And this year, folks in Green Bay can give extra thanks for a playoff contender. Squared off against the tough new neighborhood kid when the Raiders met the Oilers in that back alley known as the Astrodome. There were threats and scare tactics, but the real 1-2 punch resulted from a crushing lead block by number 35, Steve Smith, and a crunching run by Bo Jackson. This was not the place for the faint-hearted, and the meek would not inherit this AstroTurf.
Good job. Good blast. Good blast.
It was a game where it was not a good idea to hold on to the football for very long. So everyone wanted to adhere to those old adages, it's better to give than to receive. And don't be caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. At times, the teams played between the lines. Eric Thair's number 51 displayed both moves and persistence on this sack of Steve Berline. And amidst some awful mistakes, there were some artful fakes and spectacular near misses. The Raiders missed every opportunity but one.
Back to pass. Here's Berline. He fires it downfield at Dial. 5-3. Touchdown Raiders. Mike Dial.
Mike Dial looked as though he had real eyes for the exit.
Way to block, O-line! Way to block, O-line!
But a deep and dangerous receiving core, a mammoth offensive line, and the passing of Warren Moon combined to defeat the Raiders.
That's it, baby, that's it! Way to block him, Morowski!
Raiders with a four-man front. Townsend may have come offside. Here's the pass thrown deep up the right side. Touchdown, Houston.
Behind a pair of touchdown passes, the Oilers outbrawled the Raiders 23-7, dealing a crippling blow to Raider hopes for a wild card spot in the playoffs. Stability about him, like he's down from Mount Olympus just playing a game with mere mortals. Sunday seemed like the same old story for mighty Don Mikowski as he found Sterling Sharp for a 10-3 second quarter lead. A lead that would last until Minnesota's defense took control.
Mikowski drops the throw on first down, sets up in trouble. Now he scrambles a bit and throws deep. And it is intercepted by Joey Browner at the 42. Browner back to the 35, the 30, Joey Browner 25-20. Down the left sideline, Joey Browner has got it all the way down inside the green.
Joey Browner's theft set up a Herschel Walker score, giving the Vikes the lead. The interception proved the Magic Man could make mistakes, but it also gave him one of man's greatest opportunities, the chance to come back from failure. Trailing by 3 in the fourth, Mikowski the Mortal answered the prayers of his faithful.
Here's Mikowski waiting for the snap. Don goes back in the pocket, looking. Throws it over the middle. It is caught. Hit it. Touchdown. Sterling Sharp.
Sharp's 10th touchdown of the year gave Green Bay its final score, and the Packer defense held on behind the strength of a 15-year veteran cornerback.
Got to make a big play defensively for the Packers. Now looking. They're after him. He throws the ball upfield. David Brown playing it. Pinned up to David Brown at the 43-yard line.
Dave Brown's 58th and 59th career interceptions sealed the win for Green Bay. November was a pretty kind month for the first-place Pack as it beat Chicago, San Francisco, and Minnesota. And if Tim Harris's gang keeps winning in December, it might still be playing in January.
The Pack is back. You know, it's been a long time since we truthfully could say that the Pack is back. That's because there's been a lot of lean years in Green Bay. You know, it's been a long time since they've had a winning season. I'm not talking about a playoff season. I'm just talking about a winning season. That was back in 1978. And when you take a look at the 80s, you can understand things haven't changed. With the exception of 1982, that was a strike season. They've changed coaches. The latest one happened a couple of years ago when this man, Lindy Infante, took over for Forrest Gregg. And the Packers have had some big victories this year over San Francisco, Chicago, and in this game, the latest one, against the mighty Minnesota Vikings. This makes everybody happy in Green Bay and all Packer lovers because they find themselves in first place, the first time that's happened since 1972. Lindy Infante, the man that's done such a great job guiding the Green Bay Packers, has been kind enough to join us on NFL Crosstalk, and he now joins Nick Bonacani. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Lenny. Lindy, it seems odd. The Packers are in first place. It's been a very long time. 1972 was the last time that the Packers had sole possession of first place. What's it like for you as a head coach, and what are the fans, and what is their reaction?
Well, the fans are certainly very excited about it at this point. I'm glad we're finally giving them something to cheer about. I'll feel a lot better if you can say that to me in about 4 weeks from now when our division race is over and you can say we're in first place. We're certainly happy to be where we are. We're glad to be in the hunt for this thing. I think there's 3 or 4 teams in our division that can end up there, and we've just got to play an awful lot of good football here in the last 4 weeks so that we can say that when it's all over.
Now, and you have a reputation as being an offensive genius, and last week against Minnesota, you had another innovation. It's called the Hippo line. You had 9 offensive linemen and only 1 running back. What prompted this, and did it work?
Well, the reason we did it was that we were having a very boring offensive meeting. Their defense was ranked #1 in the National Football League, and we were sitting in there. Everybody was depressed about, how we're going to make a first down on this team. Everything we came up with seemed like it wasn't going to work, and I said, hey, let's try something way out here to liven things up just a little bit. Came up with the idea we'd put all those offensive linemen on the field and see if we could stretch the front of that defense a little bit to run the ball. I'm not too sure it had any major key in the game. We did make 1 good run off of it, but it averaged about 4 or 5 yards a clip, which wasn't too bad.
Lindy, during training camp, you were looking for a quarterback. Now, Mikowski has really had a terrific season, but you have to be at least moderately surprised at his success.
Well, Nick, we really weren't quite sure what we had coming out of training camp. We had 4 quarterbacks trying to earn the starting job. We didn't have an incumbent. We decided to go with Don about 2 weeks before the end of training camp and give it to him, and I told him right after we gave it to him we weren't going to yank the rug out from underneath him if he had a bad game or two. We made a total commitment to him. We asked him in return to make a total commitment to us. He's done that. He's become a student of the football game. He studies a lot. He knows our offense so much better than he did last year. And he's just having a phenomenal year, and a lot of our success is due to Don Mikowski's development.
Lindy, by the 12th week of the season, even a rookie has a fairly good grasp of a system. Your first-round draft choice, Tony Mandrich, it seems like he hasn't made much of a contribution so far here in 1989. Is it too early to judge this man? Will he make a contribution later on? Will he be a great player in the league, or is he a bust?
Oh, no, he's definitely not a bust, and I think he will be a great football player in this league. I don't think there's any question about that. We've been very lucky here that we've been successful this year, at least more so than last year, so we didn't have to force fit something. He came in very late in training camp. He was having a little trouble with our pass protection schemes and whatnot, and Alan Weingrad, who was playing in front of him, has done a fine job. We think that the returns on Tony Mandrich will come back many times over in the years to come. He's going to be a fine football player. He's got a great attitude, great work habits. He's working very hard. He gets better every day, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a Pro Bowl player in the very near future.
You've had some big wins in the past 3 or 4 weeks. Of course, the big wins over San Francisco, and then, of course, the Minnesota Vikings this past week. Now you go down and play Tampa Bay. They beat you early in the season. Is there any